Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with InvestForMore, and welcome to another one of our real estate investing videos. Today we're going to try something a little different. So if you've been following me recently, we've had a lot of crazy videos. Tire eviction where we had to remove 500 tires, call the police multiple times. We've been buying quite a few properties in 8-plex with the 16 garages, some other properties, mixed use properties. We're always doing lots of flips, and we try and throw in some educational videos as well. And I was just in New Orleans doing a presentation at the BRRRR conference, and I did that on commercial real estate. And a lot of people said, hey, is this going to be available? Can we watch this video? And I don't think BRRRR recorded it or will release that video, but I thought I can make kind of my own similar style of videos. Now, this one is not going to be on commercial real estate. This is about how to buy your first rental property without a lot of money. So I know a lot of people want to get into rental properties, want to buy rental properties, but they get stuck because it can be very expensive. So I'm going to go over lots of different strategies on that, and we're going to use kind of a PowerPoint type presentation and see if you like that style or not. So let's get started right now and get right into it. All right, so like I said, we're doing a brand new style where hopefully I can show my picture up here in the video while we go through this PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully it works well. If not, then I'm sorry. You'll just have to bear with me. All right, so how to buy your first rental property without a lot of money. I'm Mark Ferguson with InvestForMore. InvestForMore is my blog. Branding, all that great stuff. All right, why should you listen to me? I try to do this as professional as I can. First off, I have used these strategies. So this is not something that I didn't do and then went back and said, oh, I wish I would have done this before, or I think other people should do this because what I did is too difficult. I know there's a lot of that out there. I use a lot of these strategies. I use them currently. So you can use a lot of these even if you are experienced or already buying rentals. It's not just for someone who's starting out. And you can see all my properties on YouTube. We have lots of commercial real estate, lots of residential real estate, all our projects, we show them all. So we're actually investing in today's market. This isn't something we did like 20 years ago and then keep talking about on and on and on. I currently have 192,000 square feet of rentals. I know people say, that's weird, why don't you talk about doors? Well, I have commercial real estate, and one of my units has 50,000 square feet. So it's kind of weird to say I have, 35 commercial doors when I actually have giant doors. So, and that's also a very motivating goal for me. I have a goal to buy 1 million square feet of rentals, and that's very easy for me to see and visualize. So I like that goal and measuring it that way. I also have done 216 house flips, if that's crazy. I think it is. Started in 2002 working with my dad, and then we've been flipping houses for a very, very long time. I bought him out in 2013, and I continue to flip on my own. But that's sold house flip remodels. That's not wholesale deals. That's not us doing a quick double close or anything. Those are actual remodels that we complete. I own a real estate brokerage too, Blue Steel Real Estate. I have a few agents here, mostly is to help with my own investing and have a really cool place to work. That's where I'm at right now. I've written 9 books and helped a lot of people in real estate. So I really love educating people, helping people, sharing what I do. And books are really fun for me to write and are kind of like a form of passive income like rental properties as well. So that's pretty cool too. I love to see questions. So if you guys have questions at any point throughout this, ask away. I'm usually on YouTube answering questions all the time. So don't be afraid to ask. If I don't get to you, ask again. Sometimes I miss them if I get a lot, but I'll work really hard to get to everybody's question on this. And then, of course, if you like the video, we'd love to see you hit the like button, share it. We love seeing new subscribers. That helps us out as well. And if you can, in comments, help us too. So any kind of engagement we get, that helps us. If you like these types of videos, you want to see more of them, then help us out and we'll do more of them. All right. So what will I go over in this? Why I love rentals. So I want to talk about real quick about rental properties, why I love them, how they've been so beneficial to me. How much it takes to buy a rental property normally. So we're talking about how to buy with less money, but then we'll also talk real quick about why that's so advantageous compared to how much it costs to buy them like a regular investor loan. We'll talk about the own the rent strategy, kind of buying as an owner occupant, house hacking, refinancing a property you might have now, private money, hard money into a BRRRR strategy, which is kind of complicated, but we'll go over that. And then using partners too. So there's a lot of different strategies we're going to go over in this presentation. It's not just a real quick glossing over how to do this. We will go into detail on how to use these strategies. All right. Why do I love rental properties? I mean, they're one of the best wealth building strategies out there, especially for those with little money. You can buy properties with not that much cash compared to what you're purchasing, right? You're owning a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 asset and putting a lot less money into it. So if prices go up, things appreciate, you force appreciation, you can make a lot of money very quickly. And that's one reason why I love rentals so much. They earn money in multiple ways as well. You have cash flow, which is the money you make every month after paying all expenses, even your mortgage. You have appreciation, the property goes up in value over time. And you can buy below market value, which is one of the best advantages there is. When we're flipping houses, when we're buying rentals, I want to get a good deal on every single property I buy. And that starts when I first buy it, and you can build wealth right away. They're also an excellent hedge against inflation. So with inflation being an issue now, you buy a property with debt, usually a low interest rate, and the property value keeps going up, and the rents keep going up too. So as inflation pushes those up, we still have our same mortgage payment. It's an amazing hedge against inflation. And then leverage increases those returns. Like I said, getting a loan, having less money into the property than your actual investment, can increase in value is a huge advantage. And then rentals have some amazing tax advantages as well. You can use a 1031 exchange to buy and sell a property without paying those taxes right away. Now Biden's trying to limit that, change that, but nothing's for sure yet. We'll see how that goes. You can depreciate a property, which means you can actually deduct part of the value of the structure of the property from your taxes, even though real estate goes up in value. The IRS assumes it goes down. So it's kind of a cool situation there. Most expenses are depreciated or deductible. Interest on the loan is deductible. Just some amazing tax advantages. And you can actually make money with a rental property, but show it as a loss on your taxes. There's nothing illegal about it. You're not fooling anyone. That's how the IRS tax code is written out. And something else, just for me personally, I started with very little money. I was a struggling agent for many years, and rental properties were what really started to build wealth for me. I mean, they've literally made me millions and millions of dollars after starting with very little money in a pretty short period of time. And all of the reasons I listed before, plus the healthy increase in market value has helped too, are why that happened. All right. How much would you normally need to invest in a rental property, right? So that's what kind of trips up a lot of people. Like, hey, I want to invest in rental properties. I'm really excited to invest in rental properties. I think they're amazing for all the reasons we listed before, but I just don't have the money to buy them. Like, how in the world am I ever going to get this money? And that's an issue for a lot of people. It was an issue for me too. And most lenders are going to require 20% down or more if you buy a straight investment property. You're going to have to need reserves too. You can't just spend all your money on that property. The bank's going to require you to keep some money in case something goes wrong. You have vacancies, repairs, etc., which they should. That's a good thing. And then you might have closing costs too, loan costs, title costs, attorney costs, and then you might have to make repairs as well. If you want to get these really good deals I'm talking about, you might have to make some repairs, and all that can add up. So let's say you want to buy a $100,000 property. I know people are going to freak out. You can't buy these properties. It's impossible. Bear with me here. You might need $20,000 for the down payment, $3,000 for closing costs, $20,000 in repairs, $5,000 in reserves. You might not need that much, but you should have at least that much, in my opinion. You might need $50,000 plus to buy a property for $100,000. Now, you can lower some of those costs, reduce some of those costs by not buying a property that needs many repairs, or you can ask the seller to pay closing costs. So you can reduce that, but there's still going to be a lot of costs, even for a $100,000 property. Now, for people who say that's impossible in today's market, there are many markets in the country with $100,000 rentals. Now, they're not in California usually, or in giant big cities, but they're all over the Midwest, the South, upper Midwest. Colorado has $100,000 properties if you go out into the Eastern Plains. They're all over. It just might not be in the middle of an urban center where you want to buy or where you're living right now. So sometimes sacrifices are needed to get those really good deals. But we'll look at some other prices too. What about a $200,000 rental, right? Then you need a $40,000 down payment, $6,000 in closing costs, maybe $30,000 in repairs, because the repair cost doesn't always exponentially go up as the price does. Maybe $10,000 reserves, maybe a little less for that $200,000 rental. Now you're looking at what, $80,000 you need for this rental property. Again, you can reduce that, but still, this is why people are scared, like, oh my God, I can't ever buy a rental property. I can't ever invest because it's so expensive to buy a property. But there's ways to buy with much less money that we're going to go over right now. All right, We're starting off with the own to rent strategy. And that's kind of, I don't know if I made up this term, but I like to think I did. And it's basically being an owner occupant and living in the property a year and then turning it into a rental. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of rent to own, which is where you rent a property, try to become the owner of it through certain processes. Well, own to rent is like you already own the property and then you're turning it into a rental. So what you do is you buy as an owner occupant with a low money down loan. And that's the big advantage here. If you buy as an owner occupant, there are much more loan options for you with much smaller down payments. So you can do FHA for 3.5% down, conventional for 3% down, VA and USDA is 0% down. VA is for veterans or active duty military, honorably discharged. USDA is rural properties, so there's certain areas of the country that are considered rural, small towns, country properties where USDA works. And NACA, which is a program many people don't hear about, it's a really cool program as well. I met someone in New Orleans who had used NACA a couple times. And with NACA, he put literally none of his own money into these deals, bought multifamily properties, has built a tremendous amount of wealth without putting anything out of pocket into these properties. And again, I have lots more information on these on different videos I've done, different articles I've done in my books, especially Build a Rental Property Empire. We don't have time to go into the details on exactly what all these are and how they work. But remember, you can also use down payment assistance or have the seller pay some of these closing costs to reduce these costs even more. So you can literally buy a house in certain areas as an owner occupant with like $1,000. Sometimes if you're VA or USDA, you can get money back at closing after paying your earnest money to buy the property. So it's pretty insane what you can do as an owner occupant with certain programs. Now, FHA 203K is a repair loan. So you can buy a property that needs work, finance the purchase price, and then finance the repairs as well. So that's an amazing loan as well. Now, it's kind of complicated, a little more expensive, but an incredible opportunity for some people on certain properties. So when you do the rent to own, own to rent strategy, you live in the house for a year. That's what almost every bank requirement is. It says in their contract, in your loan documents, how long you have to live there. Certain loans may be different, but for the most part, it's 1 year. And you can rent it out after that year is up. You can rent it sooner, but you have to live there a year, and you can rent it out while you live there, or you can live there by yourself, then move out, then rent it out after you live there. You don't have to refinance the loan. You don't have to get a new loan. You don't have to tell your lender the way the loans work. You just have to live there 1 year. That's your requirement. Now you can repeat this over and over again. Live there a year, buy new property, live there a year, buy new property. But some banks are going to start catching on. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but their underwriters will be like, well, you've done this 3 times. We're not going to give you a new loan because we think you're going to use this as an investment. I mean, you're doing what they said you have to do. There's nothing wrong with it. So just find banks that don't care. So there are banks that will let you keep doing this. Some banks might be more of a stickler, but it's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, moving on. That's one of the best strategies as well. Also, before we get into house hacking, you can do that with flips too. You can buy a property and use low money down loans, live there, fix it up while you live there, right? That's another advantage I didn't even talk about. I'm not someone who says you should do the work yourself, always repair houses yourself. But if you're living there, it's so much easier. You're there with your family. You don't have to drive anywhere. There's no big rush to get it done. That's a situation where you can repair these houses yourselves and save a ton of money. The same if you want to do a live and flip. And if you live in the flip for 2 years and then move out, usually it's tax-free. The profit is tax-free. That's how the IRS tax rules work. If you live there for 2 out of 5 years, you don't use it for business. If you're renting it out, this can make it a little trickier. But if you don't rent it out, you can sell the house up to $250,000 is tax-free for an individual or $500,000 for a couple. Amazing. There's almost no other way in the United States to have a tax-free gain. You don't have to buy a new property. This isn't a 1031 exchange. That's just how the tax rules are written. Now, of course, talk to tax professionals or lawyers for specific advice, but one of the best things out there. All right, house hacking is another really cool strategy to buy with less money down. It's basically the same as own to rent, but you're buying a multifamily property or you're renting out part of your property while you live there. So you can buy a 1 to 4 unit property with owner-occupant loans. Once you get to 5 units or more, you can't really get those loans, so that's why it's 1 to 4 units. Live in 1 unit, rent out the other units. or you can live in a single family home, rent out the basement, rent out rooms. You just have to be careful with local zoning laws because some cities, some states, some counties, whatever, don't allow you to have too many people who are unrelated in the same single family home. So you can be in a single family area, have 5 bedrooms, but the rule might say you can only have 2 unrelated people or 1 unrelated people. So you can't have 5 different people living in each bedroom. So be careful about local laws and how those are set up. But if you buy a 2 to 4 unit property, then there's no problem renting out all those units to other people as long as it's zoned right. Now, the one really big advantage with house hacking is you get rent and income right away. So if you're doing the own to rent, and it's just you living there, you live there a year, you don't have any rental income coming in. And it can make it a little tricky buying another house or qualifying for another house with a bank because now you own this property. Maybe you rented it and you're trying to buy a new one, but the bank might say, well, we're not going to count that rental income for a year, or we want to see it rented for a while. But if you're house hacking and you have that property already rented for a year and you've got income coming in, you can show them, hey, look, I've got it rented. I've got this income history, and it makes it much easier to qualify for a new loan because you have that income coming in. You might not have to wait as long. Now, it's not impossible to qualify for 2 houses at one time either. If you have good income, you don't have tons of debt, you don't have tons of expenses. So it's not impossible to do the own to rent strategy either if you don't rent it out. But just realize if you do have a debt to income problem, the banks are saying, hey, this isn't going to work. House hacking might be a better strategy. All right, moving on. Cash out refinance. This is what I did. Now, if I had to start all over again, house hacking would be a good strategy. Own to rent would be a good strategy. I wish I would have done that more, but I just bought houses, lived in them, and lived in them too long. I should have kept buying, holding them, selling them, whatever, getting good deals. I should have done that more as a youth, but I did do this. So what happened was I had a house I lived in with my family, my wife at the time. I think we bought it right before we got pregnant with twins. I actually bought my first rental when my wife was pregnant with our twins. So if you say now's not the right time to buy rentals or your life is too crazy, I picked the absolute craziest time to do it, and it worked out okay. So, but a lot of people don't want to move all the time. They want to live in a house that they might want to turn into a rental that would make a good rental. So you can use this strategy. And so in 2009, I bought a house for $210,000. It was an amazing deal. It was probably worth $290,000 at the time. It was a foreclosure, but we didn't even change the carpet. We didn't have to paint. It needed some landscaping work. I think we sold it with the same carpet as what we bought it in 2009. We sold it in 2013 for $343,000, again, tax-free. But I was able to refinance it, and refinance means you get a new loan. So I had a loan for like $210,000 or $200,000 around there. I put very little money down on this property. And then less than a year later, I went to the bank and said, hey, I want a new loan. Maybe rates are lower, they want to take cash out. So I got a new loan that is more than the old loan. And so there's a difference of $50,000 after I paid the cost, because there's a cost for a new loan, just like a refinance, just like a regular loan. And I paid off my loan, paid all the costs to the lender, and I had $50,000 left over after getting this new loan. That's money in my bank account that's tax-free, right? A new loan debt is not income, so you don't get taxed on it. So I had $50,000 I could buy my first rental properties with, and that is how I bought my first rental property, was refinancing my personal house, taking that money out, using that to buy my first rental, and then I used some more of it to buy my second rental like 10 or 11 months later. An amazing way to use a primary house, a house you live in, to buy your first rental properties. And yes, you can still get good deals like this. I know a lot of people say, oh, there's too much competition, it's impossible to get good deals right now. We're flipping 10 houses right now. We have 10 houses in our inventory. All of them were better deals than this, right? I mean, they need a little bit more work, but they all had more room than this. And if you're an owner-occupant looking to buy a property, you can pay more than flippers, right? You don't have to have all the room a house flipper has because you're living there. You don't have all these financing costs adding up. You don't have all these repair costs adding up, these carrying costs. You don't have selling costs because you have to sell it and pay realtors and all that stuff. So owner-occupant can actually pay more than the flipper. So people think that investors are taking all this inventory. Well, owner-occupants usually have the advantage and can buy more than investors. Takes time. You have to learn to get good deals, just like investors do. But there are amazing opportunities out there. And HUD homes are one amazing way to get deals like this. Use FHA 203K. There's been very few HUD homes lately, but hopefully now as things are getting more back to normal, there'll be more HUD homes and more opportunities there. And also, even if you don't get a good deal, with prices going up like they have, a lot of people have equity in their houses, can refinance them, take cash out, buy rental properties. Now, some people might say, hey, I don't want to increase my debt. I don't want to take on all this risk, have more money I owe the bank. Like, why would I do that? Well, it's simple. Real estate is awesome. Rental properties are awesome. If you buy the right properties, they will make you 10 times what that interest rate is going to cost you, and that debt, increased debt will cost you. So if you do it the right way, buy the right properties, it's almost a no-brainer that yes, you'll be better off taking on more debt. All right, this is more experienced. You can still do it as a beginner, but more risky, little more detailed strategy we're gonna get into. Private money or hard money into a BRRRR strategy, which we'll talk about. So hard money is from a company that loans to investors. That's what they do. They borrow money from someone else, or they have a bunch of money. They loan it to investors to flip houses, buy rentals. Very high rates. You might pay 7 to 12%. There's points on top of that. There's a lot of fees. They're usually only good for a year, maybe a little longer. And they're difficult. You need an appraisal. They can be hard to work with. So it's not easy to do hard money loans. Private money loans are kind of similar, but it's from someone you know, a coworker, family, friends, and both of these options can provide very low money down loans. So hard money, maybe 10% down, but they can finance repairs too, which is cool. You might be able to do less money down. Private money, I borrow private money all the time. We do 0 down, and sometimes they finance repairs too. So it's an amazing opportunity, but as a beginner, it can be hard to get these loans right away because a lot of times these lenders want experienced investors. So there's always the catch-22. But this can be an option for people because hard money, private money lenders do loan to beginners if they really show they know what they're doing, even having a presentation, showing you know the market, giving them faith in your investment ability. So how does this work? Well, you buy a property with hard money or private money, put less money down. You have to get an amazing deal, right? Just as good a deal as I showed in the last slide or better. And then you repair it or rent it. You stabilize it. Then you go to a regular bank and you refinance it. So you put that long-term loan on. So this strategy is also much more expensive because you're paying private money or hard money interest and fees. And then you refinance with the bank, we pay more interest and fees. And so it adds up. But if this is your only option, it can still be worth it because there's so many advantages to real estate and how much money it can make you. But it can be very risky because if you don't get the right appraisal, you don't get a good enough deal, you don't have the right bank, you might be stuck with this private money loan or hard money loan that comes up due, has very high interest rate. So be very careful with this. And really, if you get a really good deal, get the right property, worst case scenario, you can sell it if things don't go right. You should have room, but just be very careful with this strategy. In the BRRRR, you might hear that all the time. It basically stands for buy, rent, repair, refinance, repeat. And we've done a lot of those. Commercial BRRRRs, residential BRRRRs where I buy with private money, sometimes even cash, repair it, stabilize it, rent it. Then we go to a regular bank, say, hey, we want to refinance this property. At a certain loan amount, we don't even need an appraisal. They'll just refinance it. Above that certain loan amount, have to get an appraisal, hope it appraises well, then get the loan, refinance it, put long-term financing in place. So this is an amazing strategy, really cool, but it can be very risky and tough to pull off. So be careful with this one. Moving on. A partner. This is another more complicated strategy, but can work great for some people with the right relationships. And partner is kind of similar to private money, where someone you know, coworker, other investor, but instead of them just lending you money, so when you borrow private money, you're just paying an interest rate and maybe some points, which is like an origination fee. But with a partner, they have equity in the deal, so they get a percentage of that deal. So maybe you split 50-50 or 70-30 or 70-20, or not 70-20, that probably would be a weird deal, but 80-20. And you have some kind of agreement where they put most of the money in, and usually you do most of the work. So maybe you find the deal, you're finding the financing, you're deciding what the good property is, you're managing the repairs, or doing the repairs yourself. Not always a good deal, but you know, finding tenants or finding a property manager. You manage the property, take care of the property. They provide the money, all the money or the most of the money. And that allows you to buy properties with less money. They get to invest in real estate and have equity without doing the work. So it can be win-win. terms can be very different for every partner depending on how it's set up. Always have everything in writing. Always think about all the exit strategies too. A lot of bad things happen from partnerships. So you have to really make sure you trust the person. It's laid out exactly what each person will do. I feel like a lot of people get into partnerships and it's like two buddies. Like, okay, we're 50-50. We're each going to do all the work. We're each going to split the money. It's going to be so cool. And then 6 months down the road, one buddy's like, I'm doing all the work. This guy's over here not doing anything. I haven't seen him for 3 months. They get pissed off. The property goes down the toilet and everybody's mad at each other and they lose money. So make sure the roles are clearly defined, what each person does, what they're responsible for. Make sure it's all in writing. Make sure you have exit strategies for how long are you guys going to hold it before one person can be bought out. If one person dies, unfortunately, how does that work? How can you be bought out? All this needs to be in writing. So partners can be a good way to buy with less money, but they can be very complicated and risky as well. I buy with a partner. I have a couple properties with them, and it's been amazing. It's advantageous for both parties. I know him very well, trust him, he trusts me. Everything's in writing, and our roles are clearly defined. Basically, I do all the work. He doesn't do anything. I'm okay with it. That's how it works, and it actually makes it easier that way because there's no expectations or confusion about who does what. All right, moving on. We've talked about a lot of strategies about how to buy with less money, getting your first property, or getting more properties, maybe already own properties and you want to find other deals out there with less money. The key is always buy the right property. Don't just happen to buy a property and hope it turns into a good rental, right? You have to find the right markets, the right areas. You always want to get an awesome deal. If something goes wrong, then you can sell it. I talk a lot about that in some of my books and other information I have. You always want to buy with cash flow or the potential for cash flow. So maybe, I buy commercial properties that might be vacant. They don't cash flow right now, but I know once I stabilize them, once I get financing in place, make repairs, they will cash flow. It will make me money every month. It's very risky, very tough if your properties are losing money because they usually lose more than you think, and it's just not a good play. Buying in the right areas is important. Buying in areas or you're familiar with, or you've researched tremendously. Hopefully areas that have increasing population. There's all kinds of factors to look at there. And you may have to invest out of state. A lot of people say, I can't buy a $100,000 rental. I can't buy a $200,000 rental. Well, there are places you can buy them. It's harder, it's more difficult to buy out of state, but you can do it. You can find the right team, the right people to help you do it. Or like me, you can switch to a different niche. I bought commercial properties when prices got too high in Colorado, and they were actually more affordable, cheaper, and had better cash flow. So you can invest out of state, you can try different niches. There's ways to invest in rentals, even if prices are higher in your area. And then try to avoid massive remodels, right? Even when we're flipping houses, we've been doing this almost 20 years. Some of our biggest mistakes are buying rental properties or flips that are just a massive remodel, and they have all this huge potential for profit, and usually it goes down the drain because there's so many problems with those remodels. So be very careful of that, especially as a beginner. Try to take on the cosmetic, the easy remodels, the stuff that won't destroy your budget, and don't get carried away doing an HGTV open floor plan concept, tearing out walls, redoing everything if you don't have to. Finally, it's a long video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, love the likes, love the comments if you did. If you need more help, I have a ton of different resources. Investformore.com is my blog. I have hundreds of free articles on there. I have tons of free videos on YouTube, of course, all kinds of content. And then I also have books. I have 9 books, like I said. Build a Rental Property Empire is my best-selling book. We sold over 100,000 copies. We're at 959 reviews now, so we're almost to 1,000 reviews on Amazon. That'd be awesome if you've read it and like it. If you give us a review, if you haven't done so, I'd love to get to that 1,000 mark. And then we have other books on flipping, on attitude, on commercial real estate, all kinds of stuff. This is my newest book, Build a Commercial Real Estate Empire, which goes into the commercial side of investing. And then I also have a coaching program too. We have calls every month. We just had a call this last Friday. Love seeing people on the calls. They're all recorded. We've had recordings from 6-7 years ago of all kinds of different topics. I do presentations. I answer everybody's question. I've never not been able to answer every question on those calls. It comes with email coaching directly with me as well. Facebook group, a massive guide that is available online, or we can physically mail it to you as well. Videos, tons of content and help in that course. And that's a lifetime membership. It never expires as long as I keep doing it, as long as I'm still around. And then for sticking around and watching this whole video, if you use coupon code YouTube50, you can get 50% off that. And again, that's a complete blueprint for successful real estate investing. It's on my website under our store products, and I'll try and add a link here as well. Love seeing new people hop on that. Love talking to them on the phone and learning about what they do, hopefully helping them advance in their investing career. All right, that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you like the new content. If you want me to do more like this, it takes a lot of time and work on my side. But if you guys really like them and it really helps you, we can do that. And we can do it on a number of different topics: financing, finding deals, commercial real estate. There's all kinds of topics: fix and flipping, being an agent, all kinds of stuff we can go through on this. All right, thank you so much. Of course, we'll have more of our videos of our actual houses, the complex, the compound, the octuplex, or the ocho, whatever we want to call that, eightplex. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't seen those or check those out. And again, love all your support, so thank you so much for that. We'll be back coming up here soon.